And TGIF, Shabbat Shalom, Juma Mubarak, whatever it may be for you, it's the end of the week here in Washington, D.C., which means, and welcome to the Thom Hartmann Program, which means that it is time for Brunch with Bernie. Senator Bernie Sanders, our hour-long national town hall meeting with Senator Sanders, his website, sanders.senate.gov. Bernie, you there?
I'm right here, Tom. How are you?
I am great. We've got a whole brand new spiffy audio-video system here working. You sound wonderful, Bernie.
Yeah, I got two things in my ears, and we got a new microphone. We're ready to go.
Yeah, there you go. So what's happening in the Senate, and what's happening in your world this week?
Well, there's a lot that's going on in the Senate. Let me mention to begin with a piece of legislation that I authored with Senator Barbara Boxer of California and Mark Begich of Alaska. And it's a pretty simple piece of legislation, which begins to focus in a significant way about the role of the Fed and Wall Street. I don't have to remind any of our listeners that if this country is going to move forward economically, if the middle class is going to expand, if we're going to end this grotesquely unfair distribution of wealth and income, we must address what goes on in Wall Street. Right now, there are 12 regional Feds, the largest, the most powerful one being, of course, the one in New York. Of the 9 members of each Fed, regional Fed, 6 of them are appointed by the banking community. 3 come from the banks themselves. 3 others are non-bankers appointed by bankers. To my mind, it is patently absurd that you have a situation, say, with the New York Fed, where somebody like Jamie Dimon, who is the CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, the largest financial institution in our country, sitting on the New York Fed regulating financial institutions. If there has ever been an example of the fox guarding the henhouse, this clearly is it. So what we need to do, and what my legislation does, is get the bankers, people who have such apparent conflicts of interest, off of all of the regional Feds. And we think this will be a step forward in making the Fed work for the middle class and working families of our country, for average people, rather than just Wall Street institutions.
Yeah, it sounds like a great plan. And you are proposing legislation.
We have introduced legislation that now has 2 co-sponsors. Needless to say, it's going to be hard sledding because our friends on Wall Street, who have enormous power over what goes on in Washington, are not terribly sympathetic. But let us not forget that during the great bailout period, during the financial crisis period, among every other major financial institution in this country, J.P. Morgan Chase received over $300 billion in low-interest loans. And it seems to me a bit absurd that somebody like a Jamie Dimon should be sitting on the board helping to determine the nature of those loans. Right. So we're working on that. There was a piece of legislation, which I won't go into great detail on, which just passed the Senate yesterday. I voted against it. Mm-hmm. But one of the amendments that we brought up touches on, I think, an issue that gets nowhere near the kind of discussion that it deserves. Tom, in America today, not only are we the only major country on earth not to have a national health care program guaranteeing health care to all people, we also pay, by far, the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. We pay almost double what our friends in Canada pay, and almost triple, in many instances, what Europeans pay for the same exact drug manufactured by the same exact company. This is an issue I've been working on hard for many, many years, and I'll tell you why. Right now, if you go out and you talk to a doctor and you say, tell me, especially doctors who practice with working class or lower income people, and you say, how many of your patients really don't fill the prescriptions that you prescribe? And I remember talking a couple of years ago to a doctor in northern Vermont, and she said, well, something like 40% of her patients don't fill the prescription because they can't afford to do it.
Wow.
And what sense is that? So we have got to work hard to lower the outrageously high cost of prescription drugs in this country. Now, a lot of reasons why prices are high here. One of the reasons that gets no discussion at all and an amendment we offered begins to deal with this, is that virtually every major drug company in America has either been convicted of fraud, that means ripping off Medicaid, Medicare, and consumers, or reaching a settlement with the government in which they had to pay substantial fines. Just in recent, very last year or two, Abbott Labs, major drug company, was paid a fine of $4.7 billion. Pfizer in 2012. There are talks now underway with the U.S. Department of Justice to settle the charges against them for up to $2 billion. In 2009, they paid $1 billion in fines. Johnson & Johnson in 2012 paid some $2 billion in fines. GlaxoSmithKline announced that it reached in 2011 an agreement in principle with the government to pay $3 billion in fines. On and on it goes. So the question that I posed is, are these just accidents on the part of the giant drug companies, or in fact is this a business model in the sense engaging in fraud, ripping off Medicaid or Medicare,
crimes,
or selling your product in order to deal with the disease that it has not been approved by the FDA to address.
Right.
And the question is this a business model? Are these guys doing it fully expecting that now and then they may get caught, but the fines will be nowhere near the kinds of profits they make by doing this fraudulent activity? So paying attention, we talk a lot about the high cost of health care in America and waste and fraud. I want to see my Republican friends have the courage to deal with the fraud in the pharmaceutical industry as well as my Democratic friends. We only got 9 votes on that amendment, which would have provided significant punishment to the drug companies for when they engage in fraud. So those are 2 of the issues that we are working on. You mentioned a moment ago the issue of student loans. And this certainly is a big issue for millions and millions of families and young people in this country. The cost of college education today is unaffordable for many. Unless Congress acts by July, we're going to see interest rates on Stafford loans go from 3.4 to 6.8%, and that's would be just a real blow to a whole lot of young people. So we have got to prevent that, and we're going to be working to do everything we can to do that as well. Last point I would make, and I think we'll keep repeating this point because it may be the most important issue that we're going to be dealing with during the campaign and after the campaign, and that is making sure that we do not balance the budget, move to a deficit reduction on the backs of the elderly, by savage cuts in Social Security or Medicare, on the backs of low-income people and working people, by major cuts in Medicaid, in student loans, and education in general, that we do not essentially move toward austerity on those people who are already hurting significantly. This recession has done a job on millions and millions of families, and we cannot keep banging them around. We've got to ask the wealthiest people in this country to start contributing to deficit reduction as well.
Yeah, it makes absolute sense. Senator Bernie Sanders with us. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour, our national town hall meeting for the rest of the hour. Senator Sanders will be taking your calls here at 866-987-THOM. We'll be right back with your calls for Senator Sanders.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And don't forget, you can check out Bernie's website. You can sign his constitutional amendment. You can sign up for his newsletter. It's a great news source, all at sanders.senate.gov. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and Senator Sanders on the line with us. Paul, watching us on Free Speech TV in Fairland, Oklahoma, on DirecTV, satellite TV. Paul, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Sanders.
Good afternoon to you, Paul.
Say, if you looked up a politician in the dictionary, your picture should be there. You're one of the greatest senators in my time, and I'm 66 years old. Now, when you talk about drug companies and stuff, I want to ask you, why is the DEA in our business? I go to the doctor. I can't be operated on because of my heart, and I've got severe back deterioration in my lower back. I can't be operated on, so I'm basically on pain pills. My doctor took me off of Percocet and went to put me on Oxycontin or something, and the price of it went up from $150 to these Oxycontins $425. And my question is, when I talk about the DEA in our business, I have to see my doctor every month now because he has to write me out a prescription. And instead of seeing him every 3 months like I was, now because I'm on a Schedule 1, I have to see him every month. And I asked him why that is. And he said it is because of the DEA. And
okay.
what I'm doing is I'm paying, the government's paying, because I'm on Medicare, the government is paying for 2 extra visits that I don't, I go in, he takes my pulse and blah, 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 gives me a thing, and I'm out.
Paul, let's get the senator's take on this. Thank you for the call.
Paul, I don't know the answer to that question, but this is what I do know, and I think everybody should know this, that in terms of prescription drugs, very often, Paul, what people in Vermont tell me is, they walk into a drugstore and the month before they were paying a certain price, and now the price has gone up 30%, 50%, or whatever it is. We are the only nation on earth, because we don't have a national health care program, where drug companies basically can charge any price they want. Now, I don't know about the DEA and your issue, but what I do know is it is perfectly legal today, if the market will bear it, that a drug company can basically charge you any price that they want. And I think that is a real horror show, and I think it's wrong, and I'll tell you why it's wrong. Because all over this country, there are people who are in need of drugs, who are not on Medicaid, who are not on Medicare, and basically can't afford it. So when they don't get the medicine they need, they end up getting sicker, they suffer, they end up in the hospital, a great cost to the system, because they can't afford the medicine they need, because our prices are so high. So this is an issue we will continue to work on.
Yeah, and good on you for doing that. We're going to hit the break here in about 15 seconds. But do you see, is there any kind of consensus in Congress that this is something that should be done about?
No. The drug companies are, like Wall Street, very powerful institutions. One of the areas, and I have to be honest, the guy who's been leading the effort on this one is John McCain. We'll talk about this in a moment, about the ability for Americans to buy the same medicine from countries in Europe or in Canada,
right,
which would mean substantially lower prices.
Okay. We'll be right back with more of Senator Bernie Sanders right after this. 19 minutes past the hour. The Thom Hartmann Program is brought to you in part by Solar World. SolarWorld.com for information on solar electricity. Occupying the media 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Thom Hartmann here with you. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Senator Bernie Sanders on the line. And Bernie, did you want to make a point before we take a call?
On that point. A number of years ago, when I was in the House, before I was in the Senate, I took a group of Vermonters, and these were mostly working-class women who were dealing with breast cancer, across the Canadian border. From where I'm talking to you now, Canada is about an hour away. And we went up to Montreal, and they purchased tamoxifen, which was a widely used breast cancer drug. And I will never forget, as long as I live, the looks on their face. They paid 1/10 of the price for the same exact medicine that they had been buying in Vermont and in America. And that got me involved in this whole issue of why it is that you can import any product you want from China, from Mexico, any place in the world, but somehow pharmacies and prescription drug distributors and individuals can't import medicine from Canada and from the UK and from Sweden at a fraction of the price. So that's an issue that we continue to work on. It's an issue that, if we prevailed, would substantially lower the cost of prescription drugs. Now, the good news is, for a variety of reasons, Americans are buying a lot of medicine from Canada, saving a whole lot of money.
Yeah. Okay. Pat in Star Prairie, Wisconsin, listening on KTNF. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Senator Sanders and Thom Hartmann, God bless you again for keeping up the fight and getting the truth out to America. My point, Senator, I've been working in the industry for over the hospitality industry, hotels and restaurants, for over 50 years. I'm a hotel, restaurant, market strategist. And I'm disgusted I'm working in this industry anymore, and I'll tell you why. The minimum wage in an industry of 10 million employees, the federal minimum wage, most people that work in this industry depend on tips. The federal minimum wage for tipped employees, servers, bartenders, bussers, you name it, bellhops, hasn't gone up from $2.13 an hour for 21 years. So every time they raise the minimum wage, the federal minimum wage, the tipped employee wage stays at $2.13 an hour, and it's been like this thanks to Herman Cain. My question is here, Senator, is it not time for a $12 an hour national minimum wage, and is it not time to get rid of this tip credit in the industry, and would it not be good for the economy? And I'll take my answer off the air. And God bless you, Senator Sanders. It's an honor to be on the phone with you.
Well, Pat, thank you very much for raising an enormously important issue. There are a whole lot of people who work in restaurants, hotels, and the hospitality industry, and they are dependent upon tips. Some of them do very well. If you're working at a high-class restaurant, you can make a good buck. But some of them do not do well. And the idea, as Pat said, that the minimum wage, excluding tips, remains at $2.13 is beyond comprehension. So, of course, Pat, it has to be raised. In my view, the minimum wage has to be raised to a living wage. Can't give you exactly what that would be, but no question that in both instances, especially right now, the idea that there are so many people who are struggling in that industry and not getting the tips they need to make a decent living, we've got to raise that very significantly.
Andrew in Denver, Colorado. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Senator Sanders. I had a question. You know, as an adult learner, I went back to school a few years ago, right around the same time the Supreme Court ruled on Citizens United, and I'll be graduating here in about a week and a half. And you know, while I'm thrilled to finally get my degree and be able to enter the workforce, you know, I'm worried, and my question comes down to how can students, you know, both traditional and non-traditional like myself, fight back against unemployment, you know, when there's, you know, the rising, you know, tide of these super PACs and, you know, the conservatives who only move our spectrum further and further to the right?
Well, Andrew, that's a great question. Because right now, and some of us were just on the floor of the Senate the other day, and Tom, the issue that we were pushing is the Disclose Act, which will be coming up, I think, in July. Mm-hmm. So let me back it up and remind everybody what Andrew is talking about. The Citizens United decision, Supreme Court decision of a couple of years ago, will go down in history as one of the worst decisions ever rendered by the court. And what it basically says is that corporations should be treated as if they were individuals, unlimited freedom of expression rights, which in real terms means billionaires and corporations and the owners of the corporations can go right into their treasuries, their corporate treasuries, and spend as much money as they want on campaigns. We're seeing this now taking place all over America. We saw it in the Republican primaries. We're seeing it in the presidential race. We're seeing it in state races. This is, to my mind, a major effort in undermining what American democracy is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about one person, one vote. We all have one vote. Now, we all have one vote, except some of us can contribute tens and tens of millions of dollars into a campaign. And that is just, to me, an outrage. So we are working on a constitutional amendment to overturn Citizens United. I expect that in a month or two there'll be a bill on the floor called the Disclose Act, which will go a significant way forward in, I think, limiting the negative impacts of Citizens United, because it will force the contributors, to be declared. We'll know who they are. They can't hide. And second of all, we'll have to have a statement of approval on television. So the CEO of a large corporation will have to say, hey, I'm the head, I'm the CEO of this company, I approve this ad. When you do that, if we do that, these guys will be less likely to advertise. The way you beat it, Andrew, is the same way that we've always moved forward in progressive struggles, and that is through strong grassroots movement, people knocking on doors and fighting for working people, talking to their neighbors, and getting involved in the political process.
Senator Bernie Sanders with us. It's our Brunch with Bernie hour. Bernie will be back taking more of your calls in our national town hall meeting here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Be sure to check out Bernie's website, sanders.senate.gov, G-O-V. And as he mentioned, his constitutional amendment is there.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program.
Let's pick up your calls here. Ken in Darien, Illinois, listening to WCPT. You are on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hello, Senator Sanders. How are you?
Good, Ken.
Good. Okay, one thing I want to put straight here. There was 4 important books, probably out of the top 10 important books in world history. One was The Age of Reason. One was The Rights of Man. One was Agrarian Justice. And the other, of course, was Common Sense.
All 4 by Thomas Paine.
All 4 by Thomas Paine, who is in my family tree, by the way. But in any case, my question was this. Based on these books, if you've read them, and I know Tom's read them quite a bit, based on that, what we see here is the same thing that England did to the colonies at that time. And, I mean, he's 300 years ahead of his time now. Do you think, Senator Sanders, that we can go back to that revolutionary spirit where we get the grassroots, the people out, regardless of what happens with Walker next week? You know, that's a very scary thing, but I don't want anybody to lose faith.
The answer is, I hope very much that is the direction in which we go. You know, the truth is, democracy is a relatively new concept, and it's a very radical concept given world history, because what democracy says is that, gee, all of the people, that means not just the kings and the queens and the big CEOs and the heads of Wall Street, not just the wealthy and the powerful should be running the country, but everybody should be involved in the political process. And what we're seeing right now is a real attack in many ways on that principle. Citizens United says, yeah, everybody has one vote, except if you're rich, you can contribute millions and millions of dollars into political campaigns. And then we have many of our right-wing Republican friends and governors and legislatures who are trying to make it harder for low-income and working people to participate in the political process. And then legislatively, what we're seeing in Washington and in state legislatures is people trying to balance the budget on the backs of some of the weakest, the most vulnerable people in this country, people who are already hurting terribly, and give more tax breaks to the rich so that the level of inequality, wealth and income inequality, gets even worse. So clearly the antidote to that is a political revolution in which working people stand together and say that in this great country, all of us deserve to have a government representing the interest of the people of America and not just the very wealthiest folks. So that's kind of where I hope we will be going. And Tom Paine was certainly a great leader in that.
Terry in Denver, Colorado, listening on AM 760. You're on the air with Senator Sanders. Terry?
Hello.
Hey, you're on the air.
Terry. Hi. Tom, first off, I want to tell you that you and Bernie Sanders are my heroes. I am a steward of IBEW 1269. We have been on strike against X1 Corporation, who is trying to outsource our jobs and leave that we agree for them to be able to do that. We have tried to connect with the NLRB to intercede to stop our jobs from being shipped out. So my question to Bernie is, what is being done to stop the outsourcing, both from the Congress, from Bernie's view? We have tried to contact the local media in Denver. We have been ignored. So I guess what I'm asking is, I know Obama is working on possibly giving credits for companies to keep them in, but what is being done to stop the outsourcing of American jobs? This is directly affecting 200 to 350 people in a 7-state region.
Terry, thanks very much for calling. You know, Tom, what I love about this program, and, you know, you deserve a lot of credit for that, is that we hear directly from real people who are telling us what's going on in their lives, and you don't often hear that in the media. And here's an example of something which is going on, not just in Colorado and that region, but all over America. So, Terry, let me be very, very honest with you on this. As somebody who voted against NAFTA, who voted against permanent normal trade relations with China, voted against every trade agreement that has come down the pike since I've been in Congress. And that is what these trade agreements are, by and large, are opportunities for large multinational corporations to shut down in America, to move to China and other low-wage countries, hire people for pennies an hour, and then bring their products back in the United States of America. Tom, what is not widely known, and I say this to Terry as well, in the last 10 years in America, we have lost 60,000 factories. 60,000 factories, millions of decent-paying jobs. Not all of those job losses are attributable to trade. Many of them are. So to answer Terry's question, Terry, I would have to tell you, and you guys keep up that fight. But right now, you've had from Republican administrations and Democratic administrations a continued desire to maintain these trade agreements, which work very, very well for corporate America, but not very well for the average American worker who's being forced to compete against people who earn very, very low wages. We need to fundamentally change trade agreements. Trade is a good thing. It's a positive thing, but you can't force American workers to compete against people who make pennies an hour.
Ryan in Chicago, listening to WCPT. You're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Hi, Senator Sanders. Tom, it's a pleasure to speak with you guys. Now, my point is, we go back to towards the end of World War II when the country was investing in the interstate highway system. They were investing in soldiers getting low-interest loans, federal loans, to buy a house, to start a family. And now we're at a critical point to where we see, economically depressed towns, cities, neighborhoods. And with that investment in the 50s being such a success, where are we now in doing that, but kind of reversing the trend rather than investing to build out? The country needs to invest to redevelop, and I think that's very critical to economic development. I mean, if you look back then, economic development was booming back then,
right? That's right. Well, Ryan, you raise, a very, very important philosophical and economic issue. What Ryan is saying is, among other things, after World War II, we had millions of soldiers coming back. They put their lives on the line in Europe and in Asia. And what the government said is, thank you very much for your defense of democracy, for your protecting our country. And now what we are going to do is give you a GI Bill which will allow you to go to college. Because many of those soldiers were working class, came from working class families, otherwise might not have been able to afford to go to college. And the government said, we're going to invest in you, and we're going to send you to college. And the result of that was a generation of young people who became business leaders, became physicians, became professionals, became teachers. And as Ryan just indicated, that act alone had a huge impact not only for millions of individuals who otherwise would not have been able to go to college, but for the entire economy, Furthermore, under Dwight D. Eisenhower, we began the process of building the interstate system. That's under a Republican. We also, through the Veterans Administration, made it easier for veterans, returning veterans, to purchase homes, etc. All of this is what a great and smart nation does. It invests in its people. It invests in its infrastructure. And what I would say to Ryan right now, that is the fight that we're having. In Washington right now, we have right-wing Republicans. We have a House of Representatives who do not want to invest in our infrastructure, do not want to invest in our young people in making college affordable, do not want to invest in child care, do not want to invest in transforming our energy system, do not want to change our trade policies so that, as the last caller pointed out, we stop losing good-paying jobs that go abroad. These are folks who have a very narrow vision of what government can be, and mostly what they want to do is give huge tax breaks to the wealthiest people in this country, and what they want to do is protect large corporations and those people who are doing very well. I think that's a very poor idea in terms of where we need to go as a nation.
We need to, Bernie, we have 40 seconds here, 30 seconds. We need to wake people up to this. How do we do that when you got half the country saying, yeah, I'll vote with the Republicans? I don't get it.
Well, I'll tell you something. That's probably longer than a 40-second discussion. Yeah. But what that is about, I think, my fellow Vermonter Howard Dean made a point a couple of years ago about a 50-state strategy.
Yeah.
And I think you got a lot of wonderful people living in these red states who have never heard a progressive idea in their lives. They're not hearing on their media, and they're not hearing it from their politicians. And we've got to make sure that people all over this country are able to get involved in a progressive agenda.
So right. Senator Bernie Sanders with us. We'll be back with more of your calls for Senator Sanders in our National Town Hall meeting, Brunch with Bernie.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
And you can visit sanders.senate.gov for Bernie's newsletter, The Bernie Buzz, to sign his constitutional amendment, and for a great aggregation of news. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you, and Senator Sanders on the line with us. Robert in Granbury, Texas, watching us on DirecTV, satellite TV, on Free Speech TV Network. Robert, you're on the air with Senator Sanders.
Oh, thank you. Glad to be on with you, Senator, and with you, Tom.
Thank you.
Three quick questions, and they've been troubling me. I haven't been able to get a straight answer. One I'm sure you can answer, Bernie. Can you give me a couple of specific examples of of why the drug companies have been getting the huge fines, and except for if they put out some medicine that was bad and it was caught or whatever, but why are they?
Okay, let me answer that one, Robert. There is two things. Drug companies are approved by the FDA to treat a particular illness. What they sometimes do is go beyond that illness and start advertising it and selling it to treat other illnesses which have not been approved by the FDA and may, in fact, have no positive impact on people's well-being, and sometimes having a negative impact. So they expand what they are allowed to do. Second area is there are agreements with the government that prices have got to be lower than is generally the case for Medicaid and Medicare, and they cheat on that, and they charge higher prices than they should.
All right, well, that leads into the second one, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't just here in Texas. My wife and I both take Lipitor. I take a couple other incidental medicines, and the government's not paying for any of my prescriptions. The Lipitor price went down from like $45 a month for each individual to about $30-something a month once generic started. Then I saw a thing on the internet that said you could apply for a card, and I did. So now my wife and I's Lipitor cost per month, instead of being $90, is $8. And also, Somebody told me to start going to Walmart for my other prescriptions, and I'm paying $10 for 3 months worth of those, where I was paying $30 a month for those also.
Robert, these are generics. Is that correct?
No, the Lipitor is not a generic. You apply for a card, and you get the ones from Walmart, yes, but Lipitor also can come from there for $4 a month.
So they're direct marketing basically to consumers, the manufacturer.
It's coming right
one of the things, Robert, I can't give you the specifics, but this is what I do know. Number one, I give you an outrageous example, is if you have AIDS in America and you want to get what's widely prevalent drug used for them, a cocktail called a tripla. In this country, you can pay $25,000 for that product for a year. You can get that same product for $200 generically in Africa and other countries. $200 versus $25,000. So generics are a means by which people can pick up the same exact medicine in a different as a generic for a tiny fraction of what the brand name costs. And one of the fights that takes place in Washington is how many years and in what ways these companies can protect their brand name and prevent that product from becoming a generic. That is a huge, huge issue.
And a lot of bucks on the line. Senator Bernie Sanders with us. We'll be right back with more of your questions for Senator Sanders right after this. And be sure to check out his website, sanders.senate.gov. It's great. You can even watch the show there, although you're already watching it. We'll be right back.
Of course, we will continue every effort to end monopoly in business, to support collective bargaining. And for all these, we have only just begun to fight.
Welcome back to the program where we dare to ask, is Walmart a person? And we dare to say, no, I don't think so. It's our Brunch with Bernie.
Tom,
yes, Bernie.
Tom, let's stay another minute on this drug issue.
Sure, go for it.
It impacts so many people. A, drug industry, enormously powerful. B, drug industry is trying to make it impossible for people to get the same exact drugs from abroad, where it's a fraction of the price. C, what they're also trying to do, and this was, I think, the point Robert was getting to from Texas, is they try to make sure that we don't go into a generic form from the brand name for as long as possible. So sometimes what they might do is change the color of the drug, make it a hair different, a little bit different. Say, I've got a new drug. It's a new drug. It's not a generic. You can't make it into a generic. But that whole issue of how you get affordable medicine to people is enormously important, because what good does it do a person if you have a drug out there that's great, but you can't afford it? And that's a struggle we're having right now.
Okay. And apropos of that, Marilyn in Taft, Tennessee wants to talk about Medicare. Marilyn, you're on the air with Senator Sanders. Thanks for watching.
What an honor, sir, to be on the air with you, and thank you for all you both do. I'm fortunate because I've lived abroad and I know how wonderful the healthcare is in Europe, France, and England. We need Medicare here desperately. I have worked my whole life, the last 20 years in this country, and sir, the problem I've had is I'm a benefits slave. There's no other way to describe what I do. I went to wonderful universities, have a master's degree, and 18 hours on top of that, and I'm able to find jobs, but every time I have to take a job, it's because I need benefits. If there was a national health care plan, not COBRA, which will cost $1,600 a month in my family's budget, it's just crippling. I feel like a slave.
Let me just pick up. Again, Tom, I want to congratulate you, Marilyn. Thank you for making that call, because the stories that we hear on this show, whether it's people seeing their jobs go abroad, whether it's what Marilyn was saying, what Robert was just saying in terms of the high price of medicine, This is what is impacting tens of millions of Americans. And what Marilyn is saying is something also that we don't talk a whole lot about, is there are huge numbers of people. I talk to them in Vermont all of the time, all over this country. These are people who are staying on their jobs right now in a particular job. Do you know why they're staying on that job, Tom? Not because of the benefits.
Yeah, they need the health insurance. And this stops a lot of people from becoming entrepreneurs too, Bernie.
Absolutely. So in other words, people are saying, yeah, I'd like to, I've been on the job here for 10 years. I want to move. I want to do something else. But my wife is ill. I remember reading, Tom, there was a guy who literally joined the military because his wife had breast cancer.
Wow.
And
it was the only way to get health insurance.
That was the way to get health insurance for his wife. What a crazy system. Yeah. So clearly what we must do, and it is the cost-effective thing to do, throw in the fact that we are spending far more than any other country on earth per person for health care. Throw in the fact that our health care outcomes are not particularly good compared to many, many other countries. Throw in the fact that 50 million Americans today have no health insurance, that we pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. Of course, we need a Medicare for all system, which is what Marilyn is talking about. And among other things, her point is, aside from everything else, it means that people can go out and do the kind of work that they want and not have to worry about losing benefits for themselves and their family. And that makes just eminent sense, I think, for people and for the economy as a whole.
Okay. Jim in Spencer, Tennessee. You're on the air with Senator Sanders. How much time do we have? We got about 2 minutes. Okay. Jim, question for Bernie.
Yes, sir. Mr. Sanders, thank you for your service, and thank you for taking my call. I've got two very serious questions for you concerning the trucking industry. We have nobody in the federal government on the left or the right that is looking out for us. Where most people work in the United States work 40 hours a week and get overtime after 40. We work 70 hours a week, sometimes more. If we load or unload our trailers, we don't get put on the clock for that. We don't get any overtime pay. As some of us, like myself, we work on percentage. If a load cost pays $1,000, we get paid a percentage of it, say $250. If we leave our employer, they're only federally required to pay minimum wage for the hours that we've been driving instead of what they hired us to pay us. And we need some regulation on that.
So, Jim, time is tight. A question for Bernie?
Is there anything that the government can do to help us?
To help the truckers?
Well, the answer is yes, there is. Of course there is. What you are describing is an extremely unfair situation, and it's unfair for the drivers. And frankly, if somebody is driving 60 or 70 hours a week, you know what? I worry that person may fall asleep at the wheel, and it's dangerous for the driver and dangerous for other people on the road. So what you have described, Jim, is a situation of exploitation, which should be dealt with. So the answer is yes, the government in the Congress can do it. Whether the Congress is prepared to do it, when you have, especially in the House leadership, they are much more interested in protecting the people who have the money rather than working people, remains to be seen. But thank you very much. It is an issue I will take a look into, because what you've described is simply not acceptable.
This also, in a way, speaks to the death of the unions, doesn't it, Bernie?
That's right. Yes, it does.
With regard to the truckers. So I think we just have a few seconds left here. Final quick thought. Oh, we're out of time. I'm sorry. There goes the music. So you timed it perfectly, Bernie. So, Bernie, thanks so much for being with us today.
Well, thank you. And the questions we got today were just really extraordinary.
Yeah, we have just some wonderful people listening and watching this program. Thank you, Bernie. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
And happy Memorial Day.